Good afternoon. My name is Jodi Haney, and I'd also like to acknowledge my student Lainey. The title of our talk is Can Globe Student Research Really Be Done Virtually? Well, and then there's that. A Bowling Green State University Action Program is the focus of our talk. It's funded by Choose Ohio First, and the goal of this program is to increase the number of science and math teachers in the state of Ohio. It's a 4-year program. The students come in for a 3-week summer bridge program and do some math and science research. Their first year, second year, they're on an internship, and then in year 3 and 4, they're busy planning and then implementing an education research project. My role is really throughout, but today I want to talk about that summer bridge program that really focuses on data literacy. We take on surface and air temperatures and clouds using globe protocols for that week-long program. This year we welcomed cohort 11, and then along came COVID as we were doing our planning. And so when we were thinking about the summer bridge, we thought, well, can we do this? Should we do this in a virtual environment? What's it going to look like? And of course, we were very worried about Zoom fatigue. So we reworked it, and instead of having a 3-week program, we cut it down to 2 weeks. And my piece would be 4 days instead of 5, and I would teach for 2 hours a day instead of 3. And I knew that I needed to keep it engaging and hands-on for the students. So we worked with 28 students from across the state of Ohio, sent them equipment bags with an IR thermometer and an air thermometer. One of the things I know to be true is that human connection and student engagement are critical for any learning environment, especially virtual. And so we incorporated these strategies throughout the week and made sure that they were taking place really every day that we met together. Students were working in groups beginning in day 1, and they would then collect data together by the end of the week on their own research question, and so they decided which role they would play for that final project. The 4-day agenda really had essential questions to organize the week, and then we used icebreakers, a field component, about 20 to 30 minutes of data collection per session, some content work so they understood what the data meant, and some group work each and every day. There was relevant homework after a few of the days just to make sure that they were really ready for this final research project. This is a photo of students working in a breakout room on day 1 after an icebreaker, and now they're assigning themselves to those group roles. Few photos of us just doing our thing in the Zoom environment. There was plenty of time for us to, again, develop the skills that we needed to have throughout the week, and it was nice to see students working in their home environments, get to know them in a different way, and you also get to see their humor. And so here's Oliver and his picture that he submitted to the group of how he made it to the Vogue cover of Vogue during our time together. We had to rethink how we were doing everything, right? We had to move away from paper versions to digital versions. And so I typically had a field notebook with globe data sheets. And this year I thought, okay, I have to make those writable PDFs. That just didn't work. It was sort of disastrous, to be honest. So the students naturally said, well, let's just do this only in the Google Sheet environment, and then you can grade our work that way, which worked out really, really well. So that's what we did. We had Google Sheets set up, and when they were out collecting data every day, starting in day 1, they would just submit to a Google Sheet, and I could see live time their work coming in and give them credit accordingly for the column of data that they submitted on each day. This is an inquiry planning mat. It's been around for about 20 years. I created it for another project long ago, and really it's a very large piece of paper that's 8.5 by 17, double sheet. And the front side helps students plan an investigation. The back side helps students actually record their data and make tables and graphs. So it's kind of draft 1 of a research project. So we turned that into a Google slide so that the teams could work together collaboratively from their different places around Ohio and still come up with a nice plan. I would sign it at the bottom when it was ready for them to actually be able to go out and collect the data when I felt that the project was ready to go. Again, we used Google data sheets, and so we had one main Google sheet, and then we had different tabs set up throughout the week. We used the different tabs, and so this was a tab from Group 3, and when they were going out and collecting their data for their group research project, They were able to collect the data here, again, working from different spaces around Ohio, working on that same Google Sheet to be able to create, to record their data and then create summary tables and graphs. Here's a few of the samples projects. So this one was light and dark brick versus siding. This group took on urban versus rural temperatures for both day and night. And this is a picture of the team taking those data collections in urban and rural places in Ohio. This is an interesting one. The group took on really looking at temperature over time, but then a storm was rolling in, so they met in a Google room and decided that they needed to modify their question accordingly, and it worked out really well for them. And this one is an interesting project taking on the idea of, what are the temperatures of grass versus turf around Ohio. And so I'm going to let Lainey tell you a little bit about this. I put together a few clips. It's choppy, but I think you'll get the idea that they were still able to pull this off in the virtual world in which we live.
Our research question was, how does the surface and air temperature of natural grass compare to that of synthetic grass? These were the location photos. So the top row photos were from the different turf areas that we took our temperature. So these are all at different football fields across Ohio. The results of our data show that synthetic grass has a higher surface temperature and air temperature than naturally grown grass. Turf is becoming the new normal on many high school, college, and professional stadium fields. As the popularity of turf increases, so will the air and surface temperatures in surrounding cities. Cities with turf fields should take proper precautions to help eliminate this problem. In order to help eliminate this problem, there are things that can be done. White covers can be purchased to cover the fields when it is not being used. The turf will not attract as much sunlight and therefore will have a lower surface temperature. Infill coated sand can be purchased and applied to the grass. This can be added to the artificial grass infill and can reduce surface temperature by 16 to 24 degrees Celsius.
Well, as you can see, I was very proud of the students, and yes, they were able to do globe research virtually. That was quite apparent by the end of the week. What would a globe graduation be without a globe what would Globe Workshop be without Globe graduation? So the last day, this is what it looked like. There's a big display, and one at a time, they graduated from the Globe training. So a little reflection. We thought that, yes, this worked out really well for us. We would do it again virtually if we needed to, without hesitation. This scaffolding was really important to really be organized and to make sure they had the skills and knowledge they needed to be successful. We had to figure out what they needed to know versus what's neat to know. Sometimes we have the curse of knowledge and just teach them too much. And so we had to let go of that. We didn't have the time for all the neat stuff that we sometimes do. We had to trust the process of the inquiry, and we just had to let go and let the students go on their own and show their thing. And we had to really think about reducing that Zoom fatigue through human connection and engagement strategies. Thank you very much.